How do you deal with a bully? It sounds like a simple question, but it's really not.
Why you bully me?
If you have ever dealt with a bully, you know how impossible those animals can be. But South Park decided to try anyway. Over 3 episodes, Season 12's breast cancer show ever, Season 16's Butterballs, and Season 17's The Hobbit, South Park fought 3 types of bullies and limped out of the ring with a black eye. So, what are these 3 types of bullies? Bully number 1, the Joker. The first type of bully South Park explores is the soft bully. You probably deal with one every day. If you have any trouble identifying soft bullies, wait for their favorite catchphrase. It's just a joke, bro. Soft bullies are portrayed masterfully by the thing that stains your toilet paper when you wipe. Cartman.
What's that? What's that?
In the 9th episode of Season 12, Wendy is making a presentation about breast cancer, but Cartman keeps interrupting. He calls it potty talk because breasts. When Wendy tells him to treat the subject with the seriousness it deserves, Cartman claims that he is just trying to engage in constructive dialogue.
I'm just trying to engage Wendy in a constructive dialogue about breast cancer awareness, Mr. Garrison.
Have you heard that before? Psychologists call what Cartman is doing relational aggression. Relationally aggressive behaviors include gossip, social exclusion, starting or spreading a rumor behind someone's back, giving the silent treatment, or threatening to stop being friends with someone if they don't act a certain way. Before psychology became mainstream, the English language had a different name for someone who uses these tactics: a two-faced bitch. Luckily for us, Wendy doesn't fall for Cartman's crap. She hits back with more angry comments, and this is when Cartman drops this masterpiece.
Wendy, you need to calm down. You're gonna get your boobs all angry and they're gonna start killing everyone.
He calls the disease titty cancer and then drops more tasteless jokes.
Look out, everyone! There's some killer titties on the loose. Could've swore I heard them coming through the roof.
Well, it's just the same joke, getting repeated in 50 shades of irritating. Cartman is also giggling the whole time. If you don't understand why, it's because you're just a regular Joe who is unlucky enough to have a higher IQ than a monkey.
Huh?
So I will explain it to you. In Cartmanistan, the phrase killer titties is considered peak comedy.
Okay.
Please laugh now. When Wendy confronts him about his jokes, Cartman fights back with a super weapon.
Wendy, we're gonna get you, Wendy. Where are your boobs? We're gonna kill you.
Wendy finally has enough and challenges Cartman to a fight after school.
After school. We fight after school. You got that?
The victim of the second type of bully, Butters, doesn't have Wendy's courage. Butters left his courage in the same place where I left mine, Mommy's womb, which is just perfect for this bully. So, who could the second type of bully be? Bully type 2 is a psychopathic brute. Unlike soft bullies who hide their attacks behind jokes and sneaky insults, brutes have the balls to slap you in the face. As long as you are smaller than them, weaker than them, and too scared to fight back. Brutes are the focus of Season 16 episode Butterballs. Here, Butter shows up with a black eye and no lunch money for the 3rd day in a row. His friends urge him to report that he is being bullied, but Butters refuses to do it, even anonymously.
No, I'm not no anonymous Andy.
This is characteristic of how brutes use fear to keep their victims in line. Before we explore how they inflict that fear though, let's take a look at the biggest and scariest bully of all: an uncaring society. Jokers and brutes live both in society, so it's no surprise that society is the villain of Season 17 episode The Hobbit. Here, Wendy wages a war against unrealistic beauty standards that are getting pushed on young girls. It all starts when Wendy encourages Lisa Berger to ask her crush out, but the crush, Butters, rejects Lisa for being too fat.
Oh, no thanks, Lisa. I really appreciate the offer, but you're too fat for me.
After Wendy sees posters of Kim Kardashian in Butters' locker, she photoshops Lisa Berger to look hotter in an attempt to prove a point.
Puffiness on the skin, here. Add fullness to the breast, length of the torso, take away that fold of skin, streamline the shoulders, put highlights in the eyes, and there.
That's Lisa Berger!
This backfires because Butters now wants the hot Lisa.jpg, and so does everybody else. All the boys want her and all the girls want to be her. This creates a Photoshop arms race. Wendy tries to de-escalate everything, but it's incredibly difficult. If you know anything about the conformity studies Solomon Asch conducted in the 1950s, Wendy's challenge becomes nearly impossible. So, what are these studies? Well, Solomon Asch put a bunch of people in a room and gave them a sheet of paper with a single line on it. This is sheet A. Then he gave them a second sheet with 3 lines on it, sheet B. One of the lines on sheet B matched the lines on sheet A. The other 2 did not. So, Asch asked the participants to identify that matching line. This wasn't a trick question. The 3 lines on sheet B were all very different and the answer was painfully obvious. When they were asked to pick the matching line, 99% of the participants picked the correct answer, in the first round at least. So only 1% of people are stupid. That's not so bad, is it? Let's move on to round 2. In the second round, Asch put each participant in a room with paid actors. The actors were instructed to pick the wrong answer on purpose. What would happen? Well, 35% of the participants saw the truth with their own eyes and still picked the wrong answer, just to conform with the majority. When he saw just how many of the 65% who had picked the correct answer still doubted their choice, Asch repeated the experiment for 12 rounds. The results would destroy your faith in humanity. 12% of the participants picked the wrong answer every single time, just because it was a majority opinion. Another 75% of participants picked the wrong answer at least once. That's how strong our conformity is. This deep-seated need for majority approval is what society uses to bully us. Next up is tactics. Different bullies use different tactics to keep you down. Let's look at them, starting with jokers. Now, jokers never attack you directly because they have one defining trait: cowards. While all bullies are considered cowards, jokers are the cowards that get called cowards by other cowards. As we see in Breast Cancer Show Ever, Cartman makes a series of increasingly tasteless jokes about a serious disease and then pretends to be confused by Wendy's anger. Or maybe he's not pretending. He's just so delusional that he believes other people are beneath him, and therefore have no right to complain about his behavior. When Wendy challenges Cartman to a fight, he initially treats it as just another joke.
You're a chick, dude.
He eggs her on until he realizes Wendy is actually serious. He is overcome by the fear of getting beat up by a girl and tries everything he can to back out of the fight, except the one thing that any normal, non-psychopathic person would do: admit that he's wrong and apologize, with at least 2% sincerity. Cartman only apologizes to Wendy in private.
I want to apologize and tell you that I'm sorry for what I said, okay? I don't want to fight you after school, alright? So, I'm sorry.
If you're really sorry, you can say it in front of everyone.
But mocks her in public.
Apologize? That's not what I said, you dumb bitch!
He eats his underwear in a humiliation ritual, fabricates sob stories,
My mom has muscular dystrophy.
and even takes a dump on the teacher's desk to get detention, so that he can have an excuse to skip the fight while still pretending that he's hardcore.
Because I'm hardcore. You know, I'm anti-establishment.
Cartman perfectly portrays every soft bully you have ever met. Fearless rebel in public, cowardly little piss guzzler in private. According to Sarah Goldstein, a bullying psychologist, soft bullies use indirect tactics like jokes, exclusion, and rumors to put you down so they can feel better about themselves and maintain their perception of being superior to you. Which explains why Cartman is so terrified of confrontation. When Wendy merely reschedules the fight for the next morning, Cartman shows up to Wendy's house with his mother and plays the victim. He puts on a big show for Wendy's parents, complete with tears and fake helplessness.
The thing is, I totally said I was sorry, but she still wants to beat me up.
Wendy's parents forbid her from fighting Cartman. A normal person would thank his lucky stars and never screw around again. But Cartman is not even a person. He treats his luck as a license to aggravate Wendy as much as possible, because he believes that he is now immune to consequences. He even challenges her to a fight in front of everybody, with the full knowledge that she can't fight him, and mocks breast cancer even more. This describes soft bullies to a T. The jokers in real life do the same. Because they tend to either be friends or acquaintances, they'll make highly personal jokes about you, your loved ones, or anything else you care about. The only difference between them and Cartman lies in how subtle they are. They usually won't insult you to your face. What they'll do instead is look at your shoes, shake their heads, and whistle with surprise. When you ask, they'll insist that nothing is wrong. If you push, they might say it's a brave fashion choice and let you jump to your own conclusions. They may look at your girlfriend and say they thought you could do better. If you see them with anything nice, they'll tell you about how you can't afford it, or say it's only available to an exclusive class of people, i.e. not you. These guys will constantly put you down while smiling in your face. If you dare react to any of their sneak attacks, the jokers usually respond by calling you oversensitive. It's just a joke, bro. 99% of the time, it works. Soft bullies use other tactics on top of jokes. There is silent treatment, excluding you from groups, and spreading false rumors about you. These tactics get so much worse with brutes. The main difference between soft bullies and psychopathic brutes lies in the power dynamics. Soft bullies tend to be social equals who try to subtly signal their superiority by putting you down with their jokes. Psychopathic brutes, on the other hand, are usually social superiors who enjoy abusing the power they have over you. Brutes always rely on some form of leverage. Butter's bully is his grandma, who is bigger and stronger than him. In your case, you could be getting bullied by the bigger guy, a boss at work, or that little girl who knows your deepest, darkest secrets. The name of the game is leverage. In Butterballs, South Park portrays just how much brutes love inflicting pain and humiliation for no other reason than their own pleasure. There are many demonstrations of this. In the first scene, Grandma keeps slapping Butters while his parents are in the next room. In the second scene, Grandma traps Butters in the bathroom and tries to force feed him a pee-soaked urinal ball because she suspects him of snitching. When a man comes to the door, she pretends everything is all nice and dandy, and a fearful Butters plays along instead of outing her. She threatens him, of course, which contributes to his silence. The most brazen scene, however, is the third one. Grandma stabs Butters in the thigh with a fork while they're having dinner. Butters' parents are seated right across the table. When they notice his discomfort and act about it, he lies that he's gassy. This doesn't make Grandma stop. she keeps twisting the fork, and Butters simply takes it when he could easily tell mom and dad what's going on. It's a chilling and realistic depiction of just how brutes are addicted to power trips. They're constantly testing you to see how much they can get away with. Because they're constantly insecure about themselves, they have to keep humiliating you to get a self-esteem boost. They will torture you in front of your parents, yell at you in front of your girlfriend, or ask your mother out right in front of you. That's how brutes establish dominance. They know that if they can torture you in front of your parents without you saying anything, they can torture you anywhere else. It's almost as if they're begging you to do something about it. So, what do? Before we talk about how to deal with brutes, we have to explore the tactics of the scariest bully of all, society. Societal bullying tends to be very corrosive and oppressive while simultaneously remaining mostly invisible. Most of the time, you never realize you're getting bullied until it's too late. So how does society achieve this? It mostly exploits your needs to fit in and get majority approval as demonstrated by the conformity experiments. South Park does an excellent job of portraying this. Butters rejects Lisa Berger because she is too fat. He prefers Kim Kardashian, who has a perfect slim, thick proportions. Wendy shows him that this is a fantasy when she photoshops Lisa into a slim, thick Kim Kardashian clone. Lisa is still just as fat and ugly as she was before her photos are smoking hot. The other girls in South Park Elementary want to be just like her, so Lisa turns into an influencer and teaches them her secrets. This creates an epidemic of photoshopped images. All the girls start doctoring their pictures to appear prettier, except for Wendy. What's even worse is that girls believe they look just like their photoshopped pictures instead of their actual selves. When Wendy points out how insane this is, they shout her down and call her a hater.
You're just a hater. Why don't you mind your own business instead of being Jenny?
This is a majority at work. That's how societal bullying operates. Somebody creates an idolized image of what you're supposed to look like. For women, this is a slim, thick look. You know, big boobs and an even bigger butt, with a skinny waist, still while weighing 95 pounds. You also need a pretty face. And flawless skin. No wrinkles, stretch marks, or any sign of looking older than 21. This is all very easy to achieve, actually. All you need is an insanely lucky pick in the genetic lottery and $900,000 to spend on plastic surgeries. Men aren't immune to these standards either. The current meta for the ideal man is money, muscles, and a Maserati. A few people achieve this ideal, mostly through pure luck or cheating, but the result is sold to everyone else as a product of pure work. This makes the fantasy look achievable, which encourages you to grind. What your favorite Hollywood star doesn't tell you, however, is that he didn't actually acquire his crazy physique by lifting for 3 weeks while eating chicken and broccoli. He actually injected 10 whole pharmacies into his veins to grow those muscles that quickly. The millions of people who still believe in that lie don't care though. They'll just call you a lazy loser or a hater. That's society bullying for you, and it isn't limited to looks. People will look down on you for wearing the wrong brands, driving the wrong car, or even having incorrect opinions. All these forms of bullying are perpetuated by whichever group happens to be the dominant in society. There is nothing new about it either. Societal bullying has existed since the beginning of time. In the olden days, you would get burned at the stake for having incorrect opinions. But these days, people are too civilized to murder you. They'll just get you fired and then make sure you never get another job for the rest of your life so you can starve to death. It's more humane. So, how are you supposed to deal with all these bullies? Wendy vs. Cartman. The common advice on dealing with bullies is, stand up for yourself. Does it work though? Well, in Breast Cancer Show Ever episode, Wendy stands up for herself, ignores Cartman's attempts to weasel out of the fight without an apology, and beats the snot out of him. Hooray! That's one bully down, 2 more to go. So stand up for yourself clearly works on the jokers. But does it work on the psychopathic brutes? Butters vs. Grandma. When Butters stands up to his grandma, everything changes. Instead of bullying him like she used to do before, she bullies him even harder. This was entirely predictable. Brutes bully you because they have some leverage over you. Usually it's because they're bigger than you, they sign your paycheck, or they know the things you like putting up your pooper. You can't stand up for yourself before you get some kind of leverage for your own. Learn to fight, get a different job, or delete those videos she has of you. When you fail to gain your own leverage and stand up for yourself, other people might decide to do it for you. This is what happens to Butters. In season 16's Butterballs, one of his friends, or maybe Butters himself, it's unclear who, makes an anonymous report about a student at South Park Elementary getting bullied. This attracts an anti-bullying trainer who bullies the school counselor into holding an anti-bullying assembly and then bullies the kids into making an anti-bullying video. Stan volunteers, which gets the anti-bullying trainer to bully him over thinking he's a big man, then bullies Stan for selling the video without consulting him, which makes Stan talk to a Hollywood producer into bullying the anti-bullying counselor, and the Hollywood producer is in turn bullied by Jesus. While the whole project started with good intentions, at least on Stan's part, the prospects of money and fame ruin everything. Butters doesn't want to get involved, but he is bullied into being the centerpiece of the whole video.
I don't want to do this.
He is bullied into appearing on the Dr. Oz show, where Dr. Oz bullies him into talking about his experiences with bullying. Butters snaps and beats the snot out of Dr. Oz on live TV, which gets him bullied for not being the perfect little bullying victim. The irony is thicker than a Kim Kardashian butt over here. This is the turning point for Butters. Beating Dr. Oz gives him a sense of power his grandma feels when she bullies him, so he walks into a room at night and tells her that she is a sad old lady who will die soon, and he will be very happy about it. It's brutal. The Butterballs episode satirizes the entire concept of anti-bullying videos, with the closing sequence showing Stan, the self-important architect of the anti-bullying video, flying to San Diego and massaging his pee-pee in the streets. This is referencing Jason Russell, who made a viral documentary called Coney 2012. It focused on one of the biggest bullies alive, the warlord Joseph Coney, a man who massacres entire villages and uses child soldiers to do it. Russell placed himself front and center of the documentary, which accomplished very little except to earn him a truckload of hate for his naivety. He ended up suffering a nervous breakdown and wandering San Diego naked while Coney kept conscripting child soldiers and committing war crimes. Just like Stan's anti-bullying video, Coney 2012 demonstrated a gross misunderstanding of the subject it was covering. In a fantasy universe, maybe Coney would have watched the documentary and decided, that's it, I gotta stop being evil. But in the real world, that doesn't happen. Similarly, psychopathic brutes are never going to watch an anti-bullying video and stop being bullies. The entire concept is bogus, and as South Park shows, anti-bullying videos are never about bullying. They're about attention and money for the people making them. So that's how you deal with brutes in South Park land. Tell your boss that he is a sad little loser who will die soon, and you'll show up to the party and piss on his grave. At the very least, that should earn you a promotion to the unemployment line. But what about society? Does making a speech telling society that is filled with miserable little losers who will die soon cure bullying? For that, we have to look at Wendy's war against unrealistic beauty standards in Season 17's The Hobbit. Here, Wendy does a horrible thing. She tells the other kids to accept their imperfections instead of photoshopping their photos to fit a trend. The horror!
You hater!
They call her a jealous hater. She goes on TV to try to raise awareness, still gets called a jealous hater.
You are a hater.
That's fine!
Wendy's war is an abject failure. Everybody smacks her down, and in the end, Wendy surrenders by photoshopping her own photo to fit the meta, then emails it to all the kids. In South Park land, it's just Photoshop, which is almost tame. In the real world, girls are getting lip fillers, Botox, and BBLs. Wendy surrendering to the tyranny of unrealistic beauty standards is South Park admitting that society is unbeatable. Is the show right? Do you have to surrender to whatever unrealistic standards society sets for you? Well, the answer is both yes and no. In this episode, South Park lays the blame for unrealistic beauty standards squarely on Kim Kardashian's shoulders. The episode is titled The Hobbit because the running gag is South Park constantly calling Kim a hobbit. Because she is a 5'2" Armenian with melons the size of Texas and a dump truck bigger than any dump trucks in Texas. Do you get it now? If you don't, there's no reason to worry. South Park will hit you over the head with that Hobbit insult 97 times just in case. But this is still a big miss. South Park is wrong here. Very, very, very wrong. There is no denying the fact that Kim Kardashian and her sisters have given every woman alive 10,000 insecurities. But the Kardashians didn't invent unrealistic beauty standards. They didn't even invent Instagram fillers, Photoshop, or plastic surgery. They didn't even invent their greatest invention, lying about their plastic surgeries. The Kardashians may be the goats of unrealistic beauty standards, but they did not create the game. They just happen to play it better than anybody else. If the Kardashians had never existed, somebody else would have just taken their place in my fantasies and give women a different set of insecurities. So who is responsible for unrealistic beauty standards? You might not like the answer, but here is something you may like. A couple months back, I was watching this British sitcom, The IT Crowd. It's very good, I enjoyed it a lot, but something felt wrong. It kept bothering me for over a week and I couldn't explain it. All I felt was this nagging sensation at the back of my mind. Then I watched another British sitcom, The In-Betweeners, and 10 minutes in, everything clicked into place. The thing that had been bothering me all along was just how not pretty the actors were. I realized that I'm too used to American TV shows where everyone just looks like a supermodel. Watching a British show where the actors look average was a major shock to my system. First, I thought it was because Americans are prettier than Brits. Then I went outside. I don't want to start a war or anything, but damn, America has fallen off. Okay, moving on. Blame Hollywood then. End of story, right? But is it Hollywood's fault? At the end of the day, Hollywood is a business. Would they cast pretty people for every role if it didn't make business sense? There's a reason why Hollywood has a global fan base while British film industry is still struggling to break into the Scottish section of Colchester. Another industry that exposes exactly who is responsible for unrealistic beauty standards is social media. Which faces do you see most on TikTok and Instagram? Are they pretty or ugly? And no, The algorithm is not pushing pretty people's propaganda onto poor uggos. Social media algorithms simply reflect crowd psychology. If these apps didn't show us what we wanted to see, they would go out of business. That's the cycle. We like looking at pretty people, rich people, and muscular people. So TikTok, Instagram, and Hollywood show us that exactly, but our attention is limited. We can't look at every pretty person in the world. This creates an arms race among the pretty people. Each one of them tries to look prettier than everybody else. The women use makeup and plastic surgery while the men use plastic surgery and PEDs. Because these things are expensive, the pretty people with money have an advantage. As they earn more money from the attention we're giving them, they just reinvest that money into their looks and increase their already advantages. As the beautiful ones race for the moon, the rest of us are left behind wallowing in the bottomless pit of inadequacies and insecurities. That's how body standards have become increasingly unrealistic. They are impossible to fight, because we are funding the whole unrealistic beauty standards industrial complex with our attention and money. We fund it with every video we like, every ad we click on, and every movie ticket we buy, which means we are actually bullying ourselves.